You're nothing but a crawfish-eating inbred hillbilly who bought his law degree from a swap meet in Louisiana. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's AOC voice rang through the Senate hearing room with the confidence of someone who had never lost mu'ate. Twitter argument. Her phone, streaming live to 2.8 million Instagram followers, captured every moment as she stood at the witness table, pointing directly at Senator John Kennedy. The 73-year-old senator from Louisiana looked up from his yellow legal pad, where he'd been doodling what appeared to be a duck, or maybe a crawfish. Behind his thick readers, his eyes twinkled with something that might have been amusement. "Your generation destroyed our planet while counting your oil money," AOC continued, playing to her online audience. "And now you sit here pretending to be some simple country lawyer when really you're just another fossil fuel puppet." Kennedy carefully set down his pencil and opened a thin manila folder labeled AOC Ethics Review. "Congresswoman," he said mildly, his Louisiana drawl thick as molasses, "I appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule to educate us simple folk. That's mighty generous. Now, since we're talking about destroying the planet and all, I was wondering if you could help me understand something. Just some simple arithmetic about your Green New Deal. Oh, and maybe explain these receipts I found." The smile never left his face, but something in his tone made AOC's confident smirk falter for just a moment. What happened next would end a political career, spawn 1,000 memes, and give birth to a new term in Washington: getting Kennedy'd. The hearing room buzzed with tension as AOC continued her live stream. Behind her, young staffers in Green New Deal t-shirts filled the gallery, phones raised like weapons. Chairman Graham gavelled for order to begin the hearing. AOC positioned herself perfectly for the camera. "Before I begin, let's talk about Senator Kennedy. He's taken $2 million from Big Oil. He voted against every climate bill. He's everything wrong with Washington." Kennedy looked up mildly. $2 million? Let me check my bank account." "Nope. Still can't afford the good coffee." "Must have gone to my other pants." The gallery laughed at what they assumed was a pathetic joke from him. AOC smirked. "This is what we're dealing with. A man who jokes while our planet burns." "Oh, I take climate change seriously," Kennedy said, still doodling. "Just like I take your Green New Deal seriously. Speaking of which, I've got some questions. Simple arithmetic." Kennedy fumbled with his reading glasses, dropping them once and apologizing profusely. AOC's live stream audience ate it up, comments flying about, "Grandpa needs his nap." She smirked at the camera, secure in her dominance. "Now, Congresswoman," Kennedy began his voice, carrying that distinctive Louisiana drawl. "I've been trying to understand this Green New Deal. It sounds wonderful. Jobs for everyone, clean air, saving the polar bears. Who doesn't love polar bears? Magnificent creatures, though I've never seen one in person. Have you?" AOC's eye roll was practically audible. "Senator, the planet is literally burning. The Green New Deal is a comprehensive plan." "Oh, I know it's comprehensive," Kennedy interrupted gently, pulling out a document. "Very comprehensive. In fact, I've got a copy right here, all 14 pages of it. That's quite impressive. 14 whole pages to remake the entire American economy. Why, the instructions for my coffee maker are longer than that." Scattered laughter broke out from the gallery. He pulled out a calculator that looked older than AOC. "There are about 145.6 million buildings to retrofit in 10 years. That comes out to about 40,000 buildings per day, including weekends and holidays." AOC leaned forward aggressively. "Senator, when FDR proposed the New Deal, pessimists like you said it was impossible. Oh, I love FDR, Kennedy interjected, though I notice he didn't promise to rebuild every structure in America while also eliminating airplanes and cow farts. He pulled out another sheet from MIT. According to their analysis, retrofitting every building would cost approximately 4.2 trillion. That's trillion with a T, and that's just the buildings, mind you. AOC's phone started buzzing with notifications. The comment stream on her live stream was slowing down. But wait, Kennedy said, warming to his theme. He took a study from Harvard's economics department. They calculated the total cost of your Green New Deal at $93 trillion over 10 years. A gasp ran through the hearing room. That's impossible, AOC snapped. Those are propaganda numbers. Well, now I thought you might say that, Kennedy replied mildly. So, I also got an analysis from the Congressional Budget Office, CBO. They came up with $89 trillion. Let me put this in perspective. The entire U.S. economy is about $21 trillion a year. Your plan costs more than 4 times our entire economy. That's like saying you're going to buy a car that costs 4 times more than all the money you'll make in your entire life. You're not accounting for the cost of inaction, AOC protested. Oh, I've got those numbers too, Kennedy said cheerfully. The Stern Review estimates it will reduce global GDP by 5 to 20% by 2100. Bad news for sure, but your plan would reduce it by 100% right now, because we'd be bankrupt. Kennedy pulled out yet another paper. But let's get specific. According to your own FAQ, which you took down from your website, you promised to provide economic security to those unwilling to work. AOC's face flushed. That was taken out of context. Ma'am, I've got the screenshot right here, Kennedy said. It's like saying a photograph of you robbing a bank was taken out of context. The context is you were robbing a bank. The gallery had gone quiet. But here's my favorite part, Kennedy continued. To pay for all this, you suggested we just print more money. Modern monetary theory, MMT. You know who else tried that? Zimbabwe. They printed so much money that a loaf of bread cost $35 million. People needed wheelbarrows to carry cash to buy groceries. Kennedy pulled out an email printout. This is from your former chief of staff, Mr. Chakrabarty. He wrote, "The Green New Deal wasn't originally a climate thing at all. We really think of it as a how do you change the entire economy thing. Change the entire economy, not save the planet. That sounds like, what's that word? Oh yes, socialism. Democratic socialism, AOC corrected. Ah yes, that's like saying democratic bank robbery. You still lose all your money, but at least you got to vote on it." Kennedy pulled out one final document from this section. According to the analysis, the Green New Deal would cost each American household approximately $60,000 per year. The median income is $67,000. You're asking families to pay almost their entire income. They'd have about $7,000 left to live on. For the whole year. How's that going to work? We never said families would pay directly, AOC stammered. Oh, so it's free? Like those sample cookies at the grocery store? No, ma'am. Someone always pays, either through taxes, inflation, or reduced services. There's no such thing as free money. Even I know that, and I'm just a simple country lawyer. He closed the first section of his folder with a decisive snap. You know, Congresswoman, where I come from, we have a saying. You can't make chicken salad out of chicken waste, no matter how much mayonnaise you add. Your Green New Deal is a lot of mayonnaise, But underneath, the math just doesn't work. And speaking of things that don't work, let's talk about your campaign finance. Dark money, you call it. I'm sure you'll be happy to explain some of these interesting financial arrangements we've discovered. AOC's phone buzzed insistently. Her staff was signaling frantically. The viewer count had plummeted. She was trapped. I have nothing to hide, Senator, unlike you and your big oil donors. Kennedy smiled gently. Big oil donors? Yes, we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about Justice Democrats' PAC, Brand New Congress, LLC, and Strategic Consulting Services. Fascinating stuff. Kennedy took his time arranging the papers. He knows you talk a lot about getting money out of politics. I couldn't agree more. Money in politics is like kudzu. Once it takes root, it's mighty hard to kill. AOC straightened in her chair. Exactly. My campaign is 100% grassroots funded. Grassroots, Kennedy exclaimed. Sometimes folks paint concrete green and call it a lawn. Says here you raised $4.6 million in your first campaign. Mighty impressive for a bartender. No offense, bartending is honest work. The people supported my message, AOC started. Oh, I'm sure they did. But the FEC reports tell an interesting story. Your campaign paid about $20,000 to Brand New Congress, LLC, for strategic consulting. A nice vague term, like calling a skunk a striped kitty. But your chief of staff, Mr. Chakrabarty, the millionaire socialist, founded Brand New Congress, LLC. He also founded Justice Democrats, PAC. And both of these organizations were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to that very same company. It's like a financial merry-go-round, except instead of horses, it's got dollar signs. AOC's confident expression began to crack. Those organizations helped elect progressives. Did they now? Let me see if this old brain can follow the money. Justice Democrats' PAC raised money. They gave that money to Brand New Congress, LLC. Brand New Congress, LLC then provided services to your campaign at below-market rates. That's like me giving you $100, you giving it to your cousin, and your cousin buying you a $100 gift, except in this case it was about $885,000. Gasps echoed through the room. But wait, he found an email Mr. Chakrabarty wrote. We set up Brand New Congress, LLC to work around FEC rules. It's technically legal, but it's definitely in the gray area. Gray area? That's like being a little bit pregnant, or mostly honest. You're either following the law or you're not. Those emails are taken out of context, AOC protested. There's that word again. All right, add context. This is an email you sent to Mr. Chakrabarty. Make sure the FEC filings look clean. We can't afford another investigation like the one in 2018. Turns out you were investigated for potentially illegal coordination. The Republican commissioners wrote, there is substantial evidence of illegal coordination, but we lack the votes to proceed. That's because it was a partisan witch hunt, AOC snapped. Witch hunt, Kennedy repeated. Funny how investigations are always witch hunts when they're about you, but speaking truth to power when they're about others. It's like my grandson with his report card. When he gets an A, he's a genius. When he gets an F, the teacher's unfair. But let's move on to my favorite part. Your campaign reported paying Mr. Riley Roberts, that's your boyfriend, correct, for marketing services, $6,000. Mr. Roberts wasn't listed anywhere as a paid employee until after a complaint was filed. Riley provided legitimate services. I'm sure he did, though you've publicly stated he doesn't work for your campaign and called it a conspiracy theory. But here's the FEC filing. Is the FEC filing a conspiracy theory too? Because if it is, that's a federal crime. Kennedy pulled out an Instagram screenshot. This is from the Met Gala, a beautiful couple. That dress with "Tax the Rich" on it. But first, I noticed your campaign paid $3,700 to someone named Juan D. Gonzalez for training. Then another $850 to Bombazo Dance Company, also for training. What kind of training exactly? Because he looked up Bombazo Dance Company. They teach salsa dancing. The room erupted. He is all for professional development, but he pays for it himself. He didn't think to charge the taxpayers because that's what your member representational allowance is. You know what this looks like? It looks like you used taxpayer money to pay for dance lessons and tried to hide it by calling it training. Where I come from, we call that fraud. This is ridiculous. You are nitpicking small expenses while taking millions from oil companies. Millions? According to Open Secrets, I've received $247,000 over my entire Senate career, 6 years. You've been in Congress 4 years and already have $885,000 in questionable transfers, $6,000 to your boyfriend, and now dance lessons charged to taxpayers. At this rate, you'll pass my corruption by next Tuesday. But we're not done yet. Let's talk about the Committee to Protect Medicare. They spent $93,000 on ads supporting your campaign. Except one thing, they're not registered as a political committee. They're a 501. What's his mouter for? Dark money, Congresswoman. The very thing you claim to oppose. You know what bothers me most? It's the hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. You sit there with your Twitter army pretending to be pure, but you're playing the same games as everyone else. You just paint it green and call it a revolution. That's like putting lipstick on a pig and calling it Miss America. Kennedy held up the photo of AOC at the Met Gala. The red "Tax the Rich" dress. This is something special. Tax the Rich, written on a dress that cost more than most Americans make in a month, at a party where tickets cost $35,000. It's like wearing a Save the Whales t-shirt to a sushi restaurant. The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. AOC lifted her chin. I was invited as a guest of the museum. A guest? Last week, the Rotary Club invited me to their fish fry. I brought my own fish. I didn't think to have someone else pay while I lectured them about sharing wealth. According to the ethics report, you received a dress valued at $10,000, shoes worth $800, a handbag worth $1,200, and jewelry worth $3,500. The dress was borrowed, AOC interjected. When my neighbor loans me his mower, I give it back. Did you give the dress back? No, you kept it. In fact, you had it framed. That's not borrowing, that's keeping. Your outfit was worth over $15,000. House ethics rules say members can't accept gifts worth more than $50. I was there in my official capacity. Official capacity? Was there a vote on the Met Gala dance floor? Because from these photos, it looks like you were taking selfies with celebrities and eating food that costs more per plate than a minimum wage worker makes in a week. He pointed out that AOC didn't pay for anything until the investigation started, 2 years later. Even then, emails showed her staff calling vendors' requests for payment harassment. Kennedy held up another photo. Here you are with the CEO of Goldman Sachs. Here's one with a hedge fund billionaire. And here, you with 3 oil company executives. The same people you say are destroying the planet, but I guess they're okay when they're offering you champagne. Kennedy mentioned her boyfriend also received a free ticket, a $400 bow tie, and $800 shoes. If you're working class like you tweet, then I'm a runway model. You wore a dress saying tax the rich while partying with them and stiffing the working class. Makeup artists and stylists who did your hair. That's not democratic socialism. That's good old-fashioned elitism with an Instagram filter. Finally, Kennedy delivered the environmental coup de grace. The world's going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. Scary stuff. I checked my own carbon footprint, 15.2 tons of CO2 a year. But let's look at yours. The screen displayed an MIT analysis, 287 tons, 19 times the American average. That's not a footprint. That's a crater. If carbon were oil, you'd be Saudi Arabia. He listed 47 private jet flights in 2024, including one from New York to Boston, a trip that's 3 hours by train. He exposed her, DC apartment settings at 68 degrees Fahrenheit in summer and 75 degrees Fahrenheit in winter, using 4 times more electricity than a normal family. You tweet about personal responsibility for consumption, while you eat $400 dinners at steakhouse that fly beef in from Japan. You fly private to Davos to take a photo with Greta Thunberg, who took a train for 32 hours to avoid flying. That's like showing up to an AA meeting with a beer bong. The hearing room erupted as Chairman Graham's gavel fell. AOC shot to her feet, her face cycling from rage to humiliation. "This was a setup, a coordinated attack," she spat. Kennedy looked up mildly. "A show trial? No, ma'am. This was show and tell. I showed documents. You told lies. Simple as that." As Kennedy walked out, surrounded by reporters, he said casually, "You know, where I come from, we have a saying. If you don't want people to know you're drunk, don't dance on the bar. The Congresswoman's been dancing on the bar for 4 years, and I just turned on the lights." On social media, the meltdown had begun. AOC lost millions of followers in hours. Donors requested refunds. The career of the socialist princess collapsed, not because of a dark conspiracy, but because of the truth presented by a 73-year-old man with a flip phone and folksy Louisiana sayings. The truth, as it turned out, could not be solved with a tweet.